Alright guys, so, um, we're gonna be talking about my old videos and I'm gonna be reacting to them today. So, we're gonna go back as far as when I started this channel, um, to, um, um, to back when I first started doing YouTube on this channel. Um, find it. There's the old me. Yeah, I think that was, yeah. So, yeah, that's the Indiana Trains video I did. Go load. Oh, that's shitty quality. Then that was the LSPDFR video I did. That's when I first started using Streamlabs. That's my first GTA video. Now, honestly, my camera qualities are not that good. But just looking at all the different videos that I've done, you know, this is also around the time I was just starting YouTube. And, you know, I was a newbie. I was a newbie, and you know, I didn't have the cool setup like people had for years, and you know, all I had to do use to stream was a PlayStation 4 and its camera. So, um, yeah, it was that hard for me to be able to stream. Um, you know, yeah, I'm doing the live stream. This is a live video, but also for everybody who wants to know, here in 13 days, guys, this is the live stream that we're going to be doing. 13 days, I'll be live with a new update. These are all the videos I did, past live streams, and all the other videos I did. You know, it's kind of awesome to see all these old videos, and you know, it's kind of awesome in a way. See this. And guys, let's watch the about President Trump. Okay, so we're gonna do some politics and let you watch some President Trump, and this is my reaction.
About the
banker
mailboxes.
boxes with sleeves over the banker boxes. The sleeves were removed. They opened up the lids and they placed them on about 10-foot tables.
Yep.
There's about 7 of them, and they placed about maybe like a dozen boxes per table, 10-foot tables. Banker boxes pulled, with the width so they can place them out, and the ballots are facing towards you. And they were double stacked, filled to the top. Each bundle is about 50 ballots.
Got it.
So maybe like 150, 300 stacked on top, each box.
Did they, after they put them on these 10-foot tables, were workers taking the ballots and then putting them into the machine?
Yeah, so that's when Mr. Baxter said, this is what democracy is supposed to look like. Then they came in, and took the ballots, the employees took the ballots, took them back to their processing tables, and everyone just did it at once. And most of the Republican workers were gone at that time.
50,000 roughly, right?
It was the same exact amount as the 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. round and the 1 a.m. round to 4 a.m. round.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see anything else after that period of time? Did you stay on? You stayed on till in the morning hours?
I stayed in until I was kicked out. They said, you can leave the room for a snack. I left the room for a snack and immediately they closed it down.
What time was that?
Around 2 p.m.
Okay. So you were there 4 o'clock in the morning all the way?
Yeah, the whole shift.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
no problem.
Did you or anyone you know ask where the origin of the late-night ballot delivery was? What precincts it came from?
I did not ask. However, the person right next to me grabbed me by the, pulled me to the side and said, I see a truck at the loading dock coming in the back of the TCF center. And by the time I looked, Mr. Baxter and his management team were personally holding in boxes and carrying them in to the tables.
Senator Tice.
The other deliveries, they didn't come in this way?
No, this delivery was unlike every other that I witnessed from the other 2 rounds, yeah.
Thank you.
See no further questions. Thank you very much for your testimony.
No problem.
Next, I have Shane Trejo, followed by Linda Brandis, followed by Bill Carzon. Welcome to the Senate Oversight Committee, sir. You
Hi there.
have 3 minutes.
My name is Shane Trejo. I'm going to be reading there have been no answers up to this point, and whistleblowers are being intimidated. There is a campaign of terror that is being instituted by people such as Attorney General Dana Nessel to coerce public officials into certifying the vote and rubber stamping this insanity as quickly as possible. Keep in mind that you could not videotape at TCF. It was strictly prohibited, potentially a criminal act. That's why all of these sworn affidavits, there's hundreds and hundreds of them, are so important, because they are the key proof that severe impropriety took place in Detroit on election night. So all we want is a proper, thorough, independent investigation into what the hundreds of whistleblowers are coming forth and saying, with a forensic audit of all the suspicious ballots. We know what these investigations would yield, and we suspect that the interests desperately trying to obstruct the investigations, I think we know I think they know what would be found as well. So I implore you to do the right thing, and for your country, for your family, for your conscience, and stop this fraud. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any members have a question? No, thank you very much for your time today. Next, I have Linda Brandis, followed by Bill Carzon, and then Christy Clamer. Linda, are you here or nearby?
I'll take her place.
Oh, many of you have waited a long time, I know. We'll keep on going through the pile here. Linda Brandis? Okay. Bill Carzon, are you here? Mr. Carzon, I presume? Welcome
Yes,
to the
Bill
Senate
Carzon.
Oversight Committee.
Yes,
You
thank you
have
very
3
much
minutes.
for having me here to speak. I'm a resident of Wayne County, registered voter, poll challenger, was registered at the TCF Center. I was at the TCF Center from November 3rd, 10 p.m. till November 4th, around 5 a.m., so I was there during the observation of the ballots that came in that have been discussed many times. I was made aware of the process, obviously, with the counting board tables, so I did witness some things with ballots taken to tabulators and run. Some cases, they were run multiple times. Of course, there's a zeroing out. It wasn't always obvious to see how that was done completely. I witnessed on at least one occasion where operator number 5, who basically carries the ballots over to the stations for tabulation, was handed back a ballot. Didn't fully understand at that point why that would possibly be, because those are to be returned into the secure boxes. I would say between 1 a.m. and 4 in the morning, roughly, it was very quiet. It was a very big lull in the overall center. Many people can attest to folks with heads on tables. This was on not only the polling stations or the absentee ballot stations, but also at the tabulator table areas. In fact, I witnessed some person on a tabulator screen playing a card game. I sat there with my son, who was also there as a poll challenger, and another acquaintance as we watched this. So to give you the sense, there was a big lull. Around 4 o'clock, 3:30, I think I've heard 4 o'clock, is by my estimation. There was a delivery, I would estimate, because the table in the center next to the main stage is where the ballots were brought to. Somewhere at least 60 boxes were brought in. They did have a wrap around them, which was very, what I expected to be standard. When that work was basically prepared for people to come up and get it, the person called up and said, come and get your extra work. They were called up by precincts, and then, you know, those groups would come in small sections and take these back and then, you know, run them to their table. So just to give you a feel for that environment and what was taking place. I was also taking the opportunity, because of the canvassing that was taking place, I was at the canvassing board meeting that Monica Palmer spoke about earlier, and I will just tell you, it was extremely hostile. It was very personal. It was very aggressive with regards to the threats that were made to her personally, her family.
1 minute left.
Yep. And I would just say that really didn't have any place, and nobody shut that down. It was high intimidation. And Mr. Kinloch, or his other representative on the Democratic side, made no comments to calm this down. So when the vote was taken to not certify, of course, there was a side discussion that actually had some other further developments that everybody's aware of. You know, I would just say, nobody talked about the fact that they had so many out-of-precinct locations. When the meeting began, a pile of affidavits were set on the table. Mr. Kinloch said they were received by himself in that day. They really weren't used, reviewed, or anything, just submitted to minutes. So really no benefit in providing that. The meeting was delayed by 2 hours to start, a very strange delay. As Monica said, there was no executive summary. The numbers were rattled off regarding out of balance. I would just say it was a very hostile environment, and the main takeaway from my side is, I think you guys know, an out-of-balance precinct can't be recounted. That doesn't make any sense. If it's out of balance, it should be.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Senator McDonald.
Thank you, sir. Sir, were you given any guidelines at all on how to do the work properly? Was there a chain of command of any type that you saw?
Yeah, there were, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that was
I
the
thought you
part.
were talking about information we received.
Yeah, was there a
beforehand.
chain of command? Were you given any guidelines whatsoever on how to do the work effectively?
There was information that was provided. Some people could watch video sessions that were provided with some information. There was some written material that was provided. So to some extent, and I heard about the on-site location activity, that was not extended as an opportunity to us, but we did get information and training and material that could be looked at to understand the process, yes.
So there was a semblance of organization?
With
Was it,
regards
it sounds
to
completely disorganized. Was there even a semblance of organization at all within?
I thought you were referring to my or our information to be a poll challenge.
Yeah, your witnessing of the poll challenge, was there any organization, even a semblance of organization?
So I personally was on table number 18 mainly,
Okay.
and then I walked around. That table did a fairly, I think, consistent job. There were times where, you know, poll worker, the person operator 1 to operator 2 may not have confirmed a number and name on the ballot, the scan and the handoff and this kind of closed loop process. I did witness that at other tables also being missed. You know, when there was a 3-hour lull with people literally with their heads on the table, there was a lot of downtime there. And this wasn't just at the tables, this was right down the tabulator station too. And then at 4 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock, when that truck hit and the other work came, now I wasn't there after, at 5 or so, as that's when we left, that these were counted, but, I mean, there was a big lull there, so not very organized and structured. If a person can sit there and play a card game on a tabulator screen, clearly there's something missing in the organization.
Well, again, it's very troubling, but thank you for that information, sir.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Senator Lucido.
Thank you very much for being so patient. I don't want you to run so fast. I wish, your gut reaction when you were there at that time of the morning and seeing these ballots coming in and not seeing any other ballots around for 2-3 hours before that, right? What was your feeling, or what was it that you made any reference to about those ballots?
Well, it was my first experience to be down there and be a poll challenger. I'm more involved in this year's cycle than I had been before. So for me, it was novel. I didn't know why they would be there. I started stepping back and asking myself, why would things close at 7 and 8? And then at 4 o'clock in the morning, this proliferation of ballots would arise. So I just had questions that just didn't seem to make sense from that perspective, but I think others maybe want to make comments as to why those were so late.
Are those boxes consistent with what you've heard the testimony? You were sitting here during the testimony earlier. Was all the boxes of ballots that were delivered to the TCF, you didn't see if they came in the back door? You didn't see?
I went to the back door when they came in, so I did see the truck. I did see them being unloaded. I saw a gentleman with a dolly that would bring some of them. I actually took the time to walk over to the tables in the center to watch them get stacked. I counted, I did a rough estimation because the tables were basically mostly empty. So I was able to get a general idea of how many were brought in at that time. And then at 5 o'clock, you know, we were pretty much done with what we were doing that day.
Thank you very much. We have to leave, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for being patient.
Yep, you're welcome.
Myself and Senator Irwin have another committee meeting for Judiciary and Public Safety.
Come back when you can.
We sure will.
Senators, thank you. Was that just Bill Carzon that we had? Or I'm sorry, thank you. Next, we have Christy Claimer, followed by Grace Norris, followed by Jeffrey Gorman. Welcome to the Senate Oversight Committee. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. So my name is Christy Claimer. I'm a registered voter from Oakland County. I was a poll challenger at TCF on November 3rd from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. and November 4th from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 a.m. on November 5th. I was there for a total of 35 hours. In those 35 hours, I experienced the chain of custody being broken in many different ways. I'm going to focus on 3 of them. Around 7:30 a.m. on November 3rd, over the microphone, everyone was asked how many Republican poll workers there were by a show of hands. When announced there were 2, I looked around and couldn't see any hands going up from where I was sitting. Not having at least one Republican poll worker at the 134 tables made it impossible for ballots to be duplicated legally. Also, there were no Republican poll workers to see the ballots being secured at the end of the process as well. Almost all the poll workers were told that they could go home at 11:30, this is on November 4th, p.m., even though none of the ballots were secured until hours after that. Tables with ballots were left unattended and not secure. And even at the end of the night, when they were pretty much wrapping up, I just started going through every single one of them, and there was 8 that were locked, but they were not locked. We made sure they were locked. I think it was unintentional, but concerning. Also, I witnessed 46 ballots get put in manually, meaning they were not in the electronic system and they were not in the paper poll books. I recorded each name and ballot number along with how they had the birth date of 1/1/1900. I witnessed majority of these ballots being entered between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. on November 4th. I was unable to challenge a ballot due to the consistent intimidation, harassment, and verbal attacks throughout the day. This came from Democrat challengers, independents, a lawyer, team leaders, supervisors. I was threatened to be escorted out by a Democrat lawyer. I have a very different perspective on how secure our elections are, experiencing all that I did. It's very disturbing and disheartening. As you've heard today, there is much credible evidence that the chain of custody was broken time and time again, which created an election with no integrity. Michigan citizens are needing to trust our election system in our state. We are asking for a fair and honest election to be certified. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Clamer. Any members have a question? Oh, thank you very much. You've submitted your testimony in writing?
Affidavits more
Okay,
in here.
thank you. Next, we have Grace Norris, followed by Jeffrey Gorman, followed by Jennifer Seidel. At the top of the hour, the chairman will take a 5-minute break for everybody, and I'll read off who's on the deck after that this time, so we can be sure to expedite coming back to order. Welcome to the Senate Oversight Committee, Ms. Norris. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm a challenger at TCF Center from November 4th to November 5th, and I'm a registered voter in Ingham County. You can all can tell that I'm a new citizen. I love to learn things, and I love this country. So that's why I became a poll challenger. So I received my credential and waited in line since 12:37 p.m. November 4th. And so I wasn't allowed to get in there until 6:20 p.m. on the 4th. So many others were not allowed in there either. So that's number one. Number two, I walked to table 14, introduced myself as a poll challenger, and I wanted to ask, were there any Democrats or Republicans or in nonpartisan independents? And the table manager told me, you can ask them, and nobody said anything. And they said, send away. So I felt, okay, well, that's kind of a little bit hostile. So number three, so when I walked around at 8:40 p.m. on the 4th, I saw a name appeared on 2 monitors. And why I paid attention, because that was a military ballot, and I saw later, and that's why I remembered this, this name. And then the fourth thing was the printing of the remarks and the voter list at the end of counting took as long as 4 hours. So the last shift was supposed to end by 9 p.m., but some of the prints did not get done until 1:30 a.m. on the 5th. And so one table had a gentleman tried to print a dozen times and failed, so he got so frustrated and he put his backpack on and just left without signing anything. So that's the fifth scenario I saw was.
1 minute.
Okay, thank you. So at about midnight, people called in and told them if they couldn't say they could leave. So sometime later, there were only like 2/3 of the people left. So the other thing I counted as, how many workers at each table left at that time. So I have the details, but I don't mention it here. So seventh, so one of the male Democrat poll challengers kept talking about, Joe Biden and Donald Trump. We were not supposed to talk politics. And eighth, some of the limit strip on the ballot cases were not put on, and some postal mailbox were left open there, and that was concerning. So then I tried to, the last thing was, I was writing down the SEO number, and then 2 Democrats stood, blocked my view, and a supervisor came over, grabbed my credential, and took photo and just left. So that's how I was treated. I hope that we had that process, so people can trust the system, and I came here for freedom and for liberty, but this was so disappointing. And I hope that our legislators would do something, make better policy to fix up the loopholes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time today and your testimony. Any questions?
Just very
Senator
quickly.
Tice.
Grace, it's amazing to see you. Thank you for all that you've done. She has worked her tail off for American integrity and elections. So I just wanted to say thank you. I know personally your efforts, and I very much appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I love this country. I hope all of us love this country.
Okay, we'll have time for one more, and then, like I said, the chair will take a break. So right now, we're looking for Jeffrey Gorman. Please come forward. And then on deck for after our break will be Jennifer Seidel, Jasmine Early, and Artisha Bomer. Mr. Gorman, welcome to the Senate Oversight Committee. You have 3 minutes.
Yeah, my name is Jeff Gorman. I live in Wayne County, in Garden City. Born and raised in Michigan, spent most of my life away from here, left when I was 17, came back 9 years ago. I was a retired Navy captain, retired airline pilot, and captain as well. And so integrity is very important to me because lives depend on it. I also went to a college where we had an honor concept, so we kind of frown on lying, cheating, and stealing. Well, I volunteered to be a poll challenger on the day after the election. Welcome Alice to the belly of the beast. It was a hostile environment from the Democratic lawyer that told me I didn't know what I was talking about when I was challenging, to I was briefed on 2 things to look for. One was when they were doing duplicate ballots, there was supposed to be a Republican and a Democratic witness. When they were doing the military ballots, I asked, where's the Republican witness? And they said, it's you. And I said, no, it has to be a paid worker. She says, well, I don't know what they are. The supervisor did, I don't know what they are. Ask him. So I asked him, the poll worker said, well, I ain't going to tell you. So it was obvious. I challenged it. They only, out of the 8 to 10 that I saw, they only took the challenge for the first one. They wouldn't record the challenge for the other ones. And the other thing I was told to watch out for was ballots that the name of the voter did not appear in the electronic or the supplemental. They had 2 that came in that met that criteria. They sent them back. They came back to the table again, so they raised the red flag to ask the supervisor, whatever the person's name is that was supposed to come in. She told them, oh, well, we checked these are on the list, so I'm going to show you how to get them and enter them to the computer so that they appear, and then we can tabulate this. And they used the fictitious 1900 birth date in it. So I was only there for 2.5 hours. That was after, in the hostile environment. I got there at 12:30. Tried to go in at 2 o'clock. They wouldn't allow us to come in, even though we know Republicans, poll watchers had left, and they need to be replaced. They wouldn't let us in until 6 o'clock is when I got in. At 6:06 in Book 1, I was recorded. Left at 8:30. For those full 2.5 hours,
1 minute.
I watched violations of the rules that I was told to watch out for. Now, I said about my jobs, integrity was important because lives depended on it. Well, it's no less any important that we have integrity in the election because the life of the country as a democratic republic depends on it. This nonsense has got to stop. We got to take the steps that it takes that the legislature can take to make sure that we have fair elections, because I've never seen anything like this before. And like I said, this goes against my grain and everything that I know as a person, as a professional. And like I said, I don't want to ever see anything like that again.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Any members have questions? Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Gorman. Again, we'll be hearing next from Jennifer Seidel, Jasmine Early, and Artisha Bomer. And I beg everyone's indulgence in a 5 to 10 minute recess. Thank you.